You're watching Public Affairs. Berkowitz is my name, and politics is our game. And we will be doing lots of politics and public policy this evening because we have as our guest Matt Belcher. Look, this guy knows the Democratic Party. I mean, he's a plaintiff's workers' comp lawyer.
Sure.
He is, of course, named partner at Belcher. We're in the good-looking and efficient offices of Belcher. And, you know, I was thinking, like, who would really know the Democratic Party? Who would know J.B. Pritzker? Who would know who would be able to articulate for our viewers, what is this election going to look like? You know, we're taping this on April 5th. We've got, almost like 7 months or so until the November election. So, you know, what's it going to look like? What will the issues be? What are the vulnerabilities of each of these candidates, Republican and Democrat? And I said, you know, Matt has all the answers, right?
True. No, I don't have any of the answers, but I can talk about certain perspectives of things.
What is the most important thing? I'm not even going to ask a question. This is really unusual. My only question
the new Jeff Berkowitz.
It's a new Jeff Berkowitz.
Let people just talk.
I'm saying to you, Matt, you get to frame the question and give the answer.
Yeah.
So tell us, what do you think viewers really want to know about this election? Can you make it more specific than that? And then you get to answer it.
Sure.
And you do that for like 28 minutes, and the show is over, and it's a one-man show. It's the Matt Belcher show.
All right. So Jeff, here's what you have to realize is that I know that you focus on a lot of like micro issues, but voters don't. Voters see things in many ways in forms of black and white.
Black and white. Okay.
There's a group of voters who have progressive values. And they view...
You tell the viewers right there. Tell the viewers right there and the voters. I'm just pointing in the right direction.
The private cannot prosper without the public. So that's a broad spectrum of people who have that point of view in their life. That private success is dependent upon the public infrastructure. And it's true because a doctor can't perform surgery unless they went to medical school, they have licensing. There's highways for people to drive there. It's the
private can't prosper without the public.
Right.
Where do I find this? Is this like the new Democratic mantra? Is it
No.
a Republican mantra? Is it a common person mantra? Because I hadn't heard this before.
Sure. And, well,
where'd you find this one?
It's the Matt Belcher theory. So and
Matt
then
Belcher theory.
yeah,
Okay.
and then there's another group of people who feel that the public cannot prosper without the private, and that's a lot of libertarian people who have a neoliberal point of view is that it's anything good that happens to people is through the private.
You know, you're sounding like, but keep going, and I'll tell you why. You're sounding like Bruce Rauner. Do you think so?
No.
Okay,
So,
keep going, then I'll put that to you.
So without the public, right, without a robust public system, the private sector cannot survive and cannot flourish. And what does that mean? So that means that if we have good public infrastructure, good public schools, good public regulations, good public courthouses, that allows the private sector to thrive and survive. And if you take that one more logical step further, any private sector success is dependent upon the public. And this is the model that prevents people to come up.
Like Obama said. Just let me say, does that sound reminiscent of what Obama said in 2008, 2009 when he was running in 2008? Does this sound familiar? No.
No, that's hope and that's hope.
No, he said. Let me interrupt because you've been going for it. Remember, he said, "Look, you didn't do this. You out there, you private employers, you didn't build that business.
Right, and so
he didn't do this. We did it. We, government, helped you, and you just don't have this idea that because you're free enterprise and you provide jobs, if you're Amazon, if you're Microsoft, if you're Verizon, you didn't do it.
You see, right.
I, Barack Obama, I did it. Isn't that kind of what he said? Because I'm here, the government is here, I'm your friend, we made it possible for Amazon and for Microsoft. Without us, you're nothing. Did I get it right? Is that what Brock said?
No. So you took the opposing point of view. So he didn't.
I thought he said that.
Right. He didn't properly articulate what was said though. But it's the same sort of idea. And
It is so
but
similar. Okay.
Yeah, but I can tell by the way you're framing it that you don't subscribe to the notion necessarily.
I think he kind of misses. I think, and I'll tell you, your point is a good one. So I'm not poo-pooing your point, but I think, see, what you need here is balance. This is the new Jeff Berkowitz, balance. No, but seriously.
Right, but see, the more you earn from the public, the more you owe back to the public. And this is what creates the moral framework for a progressive income tax.
Well, before we get to the progressive income tax, and we'll keep this to 30 seconds, there's an important point here in theory because, you know, we tape this in Chicago. We come to you in Chicago from Can TV. We shoot out to Rockford and Aurora and the north and northwest suburbs and all of that. But a lot of it's Chicago. And out on the south side of Chicago sits the University of Chicago, and the Chicago School of Thought is still alive and well. And, you know, free markets are good and beneficial, says Rauner, maybe even J.B. Pritzker. Come back to that. It's an important point. There may be some congruence between J.B. and Rauner on that issue. So free markets, but what a lot of people don't realize, Chicago understood the Chicago School of Thought. There's a guy by the name of Ronald Coase who got the Nobel Prize, taught at Chicago, and he said, you know, you have to have institutions. When you have markets, you need courts to resolve matters. You need, so my point to you is, Milton Friedman and the Chicago types are not anarchists. They're not saying there shouldn't be any government. And Coase understood these institutional frameworks are important for any society. And if you want to have a free market, that's fine.
Right.
But when there's a dispute, you're in court. You understand the real world. The judicial system is important to help a free market work. And there are some things that the free market can't provide, and like perhaps police, they won't do a good, efficient job. Defense. So there are, my point to you is, if you were saying that in order for free markets to thrive and do well, you also have to have a government infrastructure around there, agreed.
Right. And so, but
You understand? So I agree.
Of course.
It just sounds to me like you were saying only one part of it, like infrastructure, with also not glorifying the wonderful aspects of the free market.
Sure. Well, let's look at
Were
both.
you? Did I miss that?
Yeah, let's look at both sides of the spectrum,
Okay.
okay? So obviously, the vast majority of people lie somewhere in between the 2 points of view. And every election becomes a battle between these two perspectives. There's a
Every
progressive.
election. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
It kind of is it's cyclical, it goes back and forth.
People move from one direction to the next.
Like in 2014, what was the direction then? Taking a bit, a look back. In
Sure.
2014, what happened? Why did it happen in the state of Illinois?
So there was a common problem of Democratic leaders, whether it's Obama or Quinn, is that when they get into office, they try to move towards the middle ground. One thing that you have to respect about Republican governors, Scott Walker, et cetera, is that they never look for that common ground. They just go and take care of their base. So along the line, so Quinn, he attacked the public sector employees, right?
We went for pension reform,
Right.
for which the union's public sector never forgave him, and I would say was one of the reasons why he lost in 2014.
Right.
Am I
So
right?
that's absolutely right.
Okay.
And so Bruce Rauner came in, and people in many respects weren't enthusiastic about Pat Quinn. That's why you see the high vote for Theo Hardeman, right? So he got
In 2014, not in 20. He ran again in
Right.
2018. He didn't
because
get
he
it.
was the anti-Quinn, and this is the
I was
same way.
surprised. So he got like something like 30% or something.
Right, he's the anti-Quinn.
I didn't realize. Yeah, because
So people who
he was the only guy really, pretty much arguing being the anti-Quinn, right? He didn't have like 5 people. It was
Correct.
pretty much Theo, huh?
And then this is the same effect. I know you're a big fan of Jeannie Ives, but really she's
No,
she's
I'm
the
not.
anti-Rauner.
No, wait a second now.
Okay.
I'm
Well, you're not a big
balanced.
fan. You're very
I'm
balanced.
I'm a journalist.
Okay.
I have personal views, but on the show here, I don't know why you would say I'm a fan of hers. I'm not. I like her. She's a good person. I like Matt Belcher. You're both good people, okay? My job here is to test her views, or was to test her views relative to Rauner, especially relative to Rauner because he was outspending her by so much.
But
I wanted to give her
she's
an
the
opportunity.
anti-Rauner, right? So a lot of the vote,
She was running against Rauner.
a lot of the
There were
vote
basically
isn't
two
for her.
people running
Right.
there.
A lot of the vote in the primary election was against Rauner.
I don't know about that one.
Well,
I mean, you are making a choice between two people,
correct.
but she was a little-known state representative.
And that's why Tio Hardeman's a little-known
No, but wait a
state
second. The
political
difference
player
maybe between
and perennial
Tio,
candidate.
yeah, the difference between Tio and Jeannie has a very consistent set of views. Socially conservative, economically conservative, ties in with her West Point days, right?
Well,
You don't
Senator
cheat,
Hastings went to West Point
You
too.
don't cheat, steal, or what's the other one? I can't remember. And you don't tolerate people who do. You don't cheat, lie, or steal, and you don't tolerate people who do. She would probably say, I think she did, is Rauner was lying, and she didn't tolerate that. My point to you is, when people were voting for Jeannie,
They weren't
knew-
voting for her.
well, if they were, some were, because
Small.
they knew her views on economics. She was an economic conservative. They knew her views on social
Right.
issues. She was a social conservative. They knew her views on West Point about not cheating, stealing, and lying. And so in a sense, she had the moral authority relative to Rauner, who was viewed as lying.
Right,
Did I get that right? Was
True.
Rauner viewed as lying in the primary?
right.
Okay.
And you see, now if we're gonna move our frame to the next election, that frame is going to be order versus disorder. You
To
see,
the 2018 fall election.
Rauner is
Pritzker and Rauner.
right. Rauner is the candidate of disorder.
He's the candidate of disorder. Why is that?
No budget, no reforms as a result of
Well,
the
he
budget.
got a budget in 2017, didn't he?
No reforms
Didn't he
as a
sign that?
result.
He signed that, didn't he?
But now we're
I
$10
mean,
billion.
well, he vetoed it. I guess he never signed it. Sorry.
How
He
many
vetoed
billions
it
of
and
dollars
passed it
of
over.
unpaid bills do we have as a result of his disorder?
Probably 10 to 12 billion,
All right.
something like that.
And did he make any inroads in?
Although I wouldn't say, you were asking a leading question, I wouldn't say it was completely as a result of his disorder. Mike Madigan had something to do with that because Mike wanted certain things, Rauner wanted certain things, they couldn't reach a compromise, which meant for 2 years we had no budget. I don't know whether you blame Madigan or Rauner, or you blame them equally. Without a budget, because of court order and mandates and so forth, we continued to spend at a rate of about $38 to $39 billion. We had revenue coming in at $32 billion. We're running implicit deficits of $7 billion. A lot of that would be, it's complicated, but that has an effect on the unpaid bills as well. So again, I'm being fair here. I don't have a horse in this race.
Right, but you see,
What I said? Do you disagree with anything I just said about that $7 billion implicit deficit that we ran in 2016, 2017 fiscal years?
only in that the governor is supposed to be in charge.
He's supposed to be,
Right.
but is he? With Mike Madigan,
What-
is he?
Speaker Madigan is running for re-election in his ward, right, in his district, and he's going to win.
No, but he's the speaker, and he's
But-
he's the chairman of the Illinois Democratic Party, and everybody agrees he was the most powerful person before Rauner came. He's the most powerful person while Rauner's here. He hands out those 7 baseball cards that shows all the governors who were here, Democrat and Republican, while Speaker was here. They left, he's still here. He does that, right?
Correct.
He
But-
says,
that's what the news
he says,
report.
I am in charge, I am the boss. He really says that.
That I don't believe. So the Speaker Madigan is not going to be on the statewide ballot. People will view Governor Rauner as a candidate of disorder. When corporations talk about just being disruptive, Uber is disruptive, they're in that space, they're disruptive.
Well, yeah, we
They're-
like disruptors sometimes, right?
Sometimes because
We like Amazon.
right, there's an end result, right?
This is the,
But they
you
only
hit on
own-
an important thing. Disruptors have dominated the economy now for 20 years. And we
but the
like it.
disruptors
And
that
we
go out
like,
of
we like the
business.
disruptors
Right.
because they are Amazon and they provide jobs. They are Microsoft, they provide jobs. Give me some of the other current tech names.
Doesn't make a difference. So
Facebook, they provide jobs. Google, they provide jobs. All disruptors.
But
You
Rauner
like
provided no
disruptors,
jobs.
don't you?
But Rauner provided no jobs.
Yeah, well, he's
And a
not
disrupt-
necessarily a disruptor.
But he presented
He's a
himself.
disruptor wannabe.
He presented himself as a disruptive force, all right? Shake up
Okay,
Springfield.
yeah, I agree with
And-
that. Yeah, you got that
and-
right.
And his business plan turned out to be a failure.
He couldn't do it. He could not change Springfield.
He's a failure.
He
was-
failed in
So
his,
he's not
yes.
disruptive, he's
That's
not
why
a disruptor,
That's why
he's
Jeannie
disorderly.
Ives got 49% of the vote, right?
Right.
You
So-
agree with that? Okay.
Correct, disorder. He's the candidate of chaos and disorder with no positive end result.
Well, he's the candidate
So
who took
so-
on Mike Madigan and he
Doesn't
couldn't
make
beat
any
him.
difference.
No, he couldn't beat him, so there was a stalemate for 2 years. And then what
So
happened?
he failed.
Wait a second.
But he's a failed
No, but
governor.
you're going on. I know you want to make that point, okay?
Right,
But
but
you can call him failed.
What did
But let's
he
get to
accomplish?
what's important.
So here, just tell me really fast. What did Bruce Rauner accomplish in his 2-year wrecking of the economy of Illinois? Lutheran social services, gone. Autism support, gone. People laid off. Poor outlook for
No, they're not
the
gone,
economy.
they're not, again,
So where-
if you spend $39 billion a year and you agreed to that.
So what did he
who
accomplish,
was?
Jeff?
No, but my point is,
Jeff, what
all
did he
these people, if they were laid off, if Lutheran took
Give
a
me the
dive,
bullet points.
then somebody got the money. Find out who got the money.
Okay.
Because Rauner didn't take money away from Lutheran General Services. No, somebody else, some corrupt people took money and stuffed it in their pocket. I mean, ask about Berkowitz and his property taxes.
Not a factor.
And ask Pritzker, did he come out against Berkowitz? He didn't. And did Madigan get benefits? Because he's now on the run. And if he got it, well, maybe you should look into his finances. No.
You're changing the subject.
Oh,
So
yeah, it's an important
not-
subject.
It's not going, you're changing the subject. It's not
It's an
going to.
important subject.
It's not going to be a factor in the election.
In the election, so what is the fact, what does it come down to? Does
Disorder
JB
versus order. So J.B. Pritzker,
Disorder versus order?
right.
Do you think the common person understands that? Maybe
They
you
do.
want to,
They
maybe
do.
I'm helping you.
Every
I'm helping
election-
you. I think you need to make it a little
Sure.
bit more understandable.
Sure, wait one
Break
second.
it down for me.
Sure, wait 1 second.
Okay.
So Barrows lost. He's not going to be a factor. You need to look at it from the broader perspective, okay?
Barrows
Order
lost.
versus disorder. J.B.
So we don't have to worry about property tax
JB
being broken and all that stuff that Chris Kennedy said. It's all fixed now, right?
J.
It's all fixed because Barrios is gone in 6 months, is that right? 7
Order
months?
and disorder. That's what people are going to vote
We're going to
on.
have order.
Right. He's going to bring order to the state, and that will shore
How
up
long
support
has, how
among
long has
the
Illinois been
independents.
losing population? For how long?
Well,
For
you-
4 years?
But I could tell you
For
why.
8 years? For 10 years? For 12
it's-
years?
it's-
How long has they, how long, just answer that question. How long has Illinois been losing
A
population?
decade.
Okay. And Democrats have been in control of the state house, the state senate, and the governorship for most of that time.
It's not going to be a factor.
Last
in
few
the
years, the Republicans had the governorship. So do we blame the Democrats who are in control of the entire state government, including the state Supreme Court?
election. No one's
Or
going to
do
blame
we blame Rauner for what he did in 2 years? Who gets the hit for the last 10, 12, 14 years? Rauner?
it. Yes.
For the last 10, 12, 14 years?
Yes.
He wasn't even here till 2014.
Doesn't make any difference. He's a candidate of disorder, and if J.B.
Good luck
Pritzker,
with that one.
if J.B. Pritzker presents if he gives people the sense that there's going to be order after he's elected,
Change.
people will
Does he
vote
want
for him.
change?
He wants order. No,
Order.
order versus disorder.
And
That's the
will
broad
that order stop?
anchors.
Will it stop the population from leaving Illinois?
So
Will it?
yes. Let me
So
explain to you why the
why
population
didn't
leaves.
Quinn do it when he was governor?
Let me explain to you
Why
why-
didn't Madigan do it? Why doesn't Cullerton do it? Why don't all these guys who are Democrats and in control? Again, I'm just pointing out the obvious. I'm not against Democrats. I'm really not.
You ready? You
But
want me
if
to
they're in
explain to you?
control, why can't they change things?
So neoliberalism, austerity, outsourcing accounts for a lot of the African American population leaving the state of Illinois.
What is
So-
it that can, I don't understand those words, big
Sure,
words.
I'll explain it to you right now.
Okay.
So when you close public schools, when you outsource maintenance contracts, when you outsource what used to be public employment jobs, what happens is that you
Who
take
did that?
communities
But
of
who
people.
did that outsourcing in CPS?
Let's start with Rahm. Let's start with Rahm.
No, it was, yeah,
Let's start with
Rahm
Rahm.
Emanuel,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's start-
Last time I
here,
looked,
look-
he was a Democrat.
He's a neoliberal Democrat.
I don't know, he's a Democrat.
So he's a Democrat because
The
you can't
Democratic
run as a
Party hums
Republican.
for him.
You
They
can't
work
run as a
for him.
Republican
What?
in the city of Chicago. So he's as close to a Republican as we have in the city of Chicago. So let me explain it to you really fast. So this is,
Tell
so,
some Republicans, they'd be
Sure.
amused to hear that.
ready?
Dan Proft would love to find out that Rahm is really his buddy Republican.
Austerity. So you decrease public support of programs, you cut public employees.
Have we been
These are
doing that?
jobs.
Have we been
Yes.
cutting programs?
When you close 50 schools, how many African Americans that used to have middle class incomes did you put out of business?
Wait a second, what's the budget of CPS, approximately? Just give me. No, it does, because it's about $6 billion.
Okay.
You know what it was a few years ago? $6 billion. We're not cutting CPS. You can hear that? You know what's happening? The pension cost to CPS is going up. That bill is coming due. It is crowding out spending on current teachers, current classrooms. The battle you have within the Democratic Party is, should we keep our commitments to pensions to people who are making $100,000, $150,000 a year, or should we help the low-income people in the Democratic Party who want to rise up and they're making $20,000 or $30,000? That, if Browner had some smarts, that would be the argument to say, you know, you Democrats who are making low incomes, do you want to keep subsidizing people at higher incomes? Or do you want to join me in saying we have to reform those pensions so somebody doesn't take the $150,000 and rob your kid of an education? You see that argument?
Yes.
You think that might be a good
no.
argument?
It doesn't work.
I give it to you. Wow.
So you wanted me to explain to you about the
Why doesn't it
austerity
work?
and
Yeah.
neoliberalism. Here, let's
You
finish.
keep using those big words. They don't understand it.
Sure.
I'm trying to help you, Matt.
So you take maintenance men,
Yeah,
janitors at schools.
yeah.
They all make 20, 30 bucks an hour. They have benefits. They
So
go
what's
home.
that annual income?
They come
What is that annual
40,
income?
50, 60,
It's
$75,000.
pretty good income.
They
Are
take
we
that
running
money.
the public schools for the custodians or for the students who
Well,
are
we
in it?
should run it for the custodians as well.
Not for the students who are in it.
Wait one second. The custodians who are making $50, $60, $75,000 a
Pretty good
year
buck, pretty good
are
buck.
not putting their money in offshore accounts. They're spending it in the community. When they're spending that money in the community, it keeps the financial security of the community alive. Gentrification is caused not by jobs. Gentrification is caused by disposable income. As people have disposable
Is that
income, they
what Chris
support their
Kennedy, excuse me,
neighborhood.
but is that what Chris Kennedy argued?
So as you take all the
No, but
janitors,
he didn't argue that,
as you
just so
take all
know.
those janitors and lay
Okay.
them all off, they collect unemployment for some period of time, and then they have difficulty finding new jobs. They then take whatever's left of their money and they move out of the neighborhood. As they move out of the neighborhood, it becomes people with jobs and poor people. The people who have money to leave. And that's what a lot of the African-American population
Okay.
is leaving the Cook County area for areas where they think they can get a job. And many people feel they can get a job in the South easier than they can get a job in Chicago because we do have certain structural
Southern part of the
racism
United
problems.
States is what you're saying.
Now here. Now you lay all
Where
these,
unions are
we
less
lay off
powerful.
all-
That's not
we
a
lay
factor.
off all those janitors, right?
Okay.
And we hire Aramark to come in. Aramark hires
Who
people.
hired Aramark? Well, you said we. I didn't do it. You didn't do it. Who hired Aramark?
CPS.
And who put the person in charge?
It doesn't make any difference.
Oh, no, it does.
It doesn't.
No,
So,
answer this. People, here, I get to
listen,
ask a few
listen.
questions.
Right. What,
People want to know this, and you can go back onto your lecture. But people out there want to know from you, Matt Belcher,
As Aramark
who
collects-
hired Aramark? Who made that decision? Because nobody's happy with Aramark. So who made that decision? Bruce Rauner or Rahm Emanuel?
what was Rahm Emanuel in CPS?
Yes, Rahm Emanuel
So-
put the person in CPS. He put Forrest Claypool there. He put Barbara Bird Bennett, who's now in prison. Rahm Emanuel, I believe, put her there, right? Democrats put them there. They put other Democrats who stole the money and stole it from people so they can't get a good education on CPS. And you want to turn around and make the 2018 election about Bruce Rauner when 25% of the kids are reading at grade level in CPS, and that's been true for the last 15 years.
Okay, can we get back to the original subject?
Oh, that's an important thing, because people out
It's
there...
important to you, it's not important to the ultimate election.
Oh,
So
no,
let me finish.
people out
So
there who we're
Aramark-
talking to, who are going to vote, if I tell them and they believe that only 25% of the kids of low-income parents in CPS are reading at grade level and 75% aren't, you can go on about your order and disorder till the cows come home. They're voting for the person who says, I want to fix that. And so I want to reverse those figures. I want 75% of the kids who have low-income parents in CPS to read at grade level.
Yeah.
You run on that, Bruce Rauner, and you win. You run on that, J.B. Pritzker, and you win. Doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. You run on that. You run on order and disorder.
No, this is, you see, here, this is your problem.
This is like a University of Chicago seminar.
This is your problem.
This is not like an election.
You need to move out of first position, move into second position, see things through other people's eyes, and then move into third position and see things objectively. Let's finish the Aramark story.
Okay.
So Aramark gets paid hundreds of millions of dollars.
Which is in the news just these last few days, right? We get to point that out. They were
pay-
relevant 4 years ago. They're relevant today.
They pay temporary workers, Eastern Europeans, Hispanics, Latinos. They pay them 10, 11 bucks an hour. They take the rest of the money that's left over, the profit, and they move it back to their headquarters in Philadelphia or wherever their headquarters
Right,
is.
right, I understand.
So this idea that we save the city of Chicago, let's say we save $50 million or $60 million, it undermines
You got
the
2
value.
minutes.
It
I'm
undermines-
going to give you a minute. You
undermines the
got
value-
2 minutes.
it
Tell
undermines
us once again, in
middle-class
simple
neighborhoods.
terms, Pritzker, Rauner, what's the difference in November, so people can understand it. We only have 2 minutes left.
Sure.
Look the people in the eye. Tell them Matt Belcher of Alexi Belcher, okay, plaintiff's workers' comp lawyer.
Yes.
What does it come down to in November between Bruce Rauner and J.B. Pritzker when they decide the people who will be the next governor? What does it come down to, Matt Belcher?
Governor Rauner has no leadership. He has no plan. He's not in charge. He's the candidate of disorder. J.B. Pritzker, as we learned from his primary organization, is an excellent manager. He knows how to get things done. I didn't vote for him, but you could see from his primary infrastructure that the man knows how to operate, and he knows how to manage people. He knows how to budget.
That's a
J.B. Pritzker will bring order to this.
Excuse me, who did you vote for?
Daniel Biss.
Will you and the other BIS voters, will you be charged up and energized about J.B. Pritzker? And if so, why? Because you really wanted BIS to be there, right?
Sure, but
Is J.B. a good substitute for BIS?
many BIS voters are going to vote for Pritzker because they want to vote against Rauner, because we view Rauner as
It's anybody but Rauner.
anybody but Rauner.
Same thing with the Kennedy voters. They'll be lining up for, in your view, for J.B.
Right.
because
And
it's
that's-
anybody
right.
but Rauner.
And that's why this idea that African Americans are not going to turn out for J.B. Pritzker has been disproven, because
Did they turn out in
they
the
turned
primary for him?
out. They turned out in the primary, and he won every
And why
African American
was it
district.
that his money went to the black
No,
ministers?
because they're
The
voting-
black ministers got out the vote for J.B. Money rules, doesn't it?
No,
Money doesn't rule?
no. People vote moral issues. All politics is morality.
Really?
J.B. Pritzker appears to those voters.
You are an idealistic young man. I remember when I was an idealistic young man. But I know what I think you know, money matters. J.B. spent, what, $57, $60 million?
That creates-
Could he have won if he spent, like, BIS did, $3, $4 million? Could he have won? An honest answer, please.
Yeah, that I don't know of, because.
No, you know the answer is no.
So J.B. Pritzker.
Your guy, BIS, would have won that race.
J.B. Pritzker spent a significant amount of money, and it creates congruence in the voters because they hear his name over and over again.
We got to go. No, seriously, we're
We
out
can't
of
solve
time.
the problems of today, but.
No, just I want to remember, you come back next week and every week, not to see Berkowitz. He's like nothing, because you can see people like Matt Belcher when you come to public affairs. Matt, you're going to come back so they can see you again?
Of course.
All right. So you come back next week and every week to public affairs.